Hey, Coach. So excited you found us. A couple things. First of all, down below, um, you will find the complete video of wintheseason.com. It's free. You can go down, register, and get the handouts and get the video and everything that I'm talking about in wintheseason.com. So just check down below and have a great day. Bye.
So, framework number two, game planning. And the three buckets when we're talking about great game planning. Again, coaches, if you guys have questions about anything, just pop them in the chat. I'll try to weave them into the conversation here for coach. But so the three buckets when it comes to game planning: practice setup. You're muted, coach.
Yeah,
End of
yeah. Well, sorry, Coach. So I get talking. Throw it in the chat. We'll
Yep.
get to it. I'm just trying to brain dump and help you guys as much as I can. So yeah.
So we have practice setup, end of game situations. I know this is a big one that you love, a big topic that you love, and then scouting and analysis. So when we're talking about preparing for a game, all right, talk to us about how you build your practices. How do you set up your practices to prepare for a game? Because and you know every team's different as well. And something like you just said earlier, you have 8 practices before your first game. Here in Ohio, we have 4 weeks, sometimes 4.5 weeks before from practice one to game one. So how do you get all of that in a short period of time?
I don't think I do. It's probably why I don't have much hair. Uh, yeah, you organize, okay? You map it out. I'm going to tell you in a week I've done morning and afternoon practice. I have 1 day of practice done. That's how much I get into the nuances of what I want to do.
Yeah.
It's my lesson plan. It is, and I won't go too far in advance. I will get maybe the first 3 or 4 practices because I know as a teacher I'm going to have to pivot and things are going to work and things aren't going to work and we're going to be better at some things and worse at other things. Um, but the thing on the left is kind of my generic practice plan. I do. I still do paper and pencil.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm old school. I fold it in half and I carry it around with me, and I'm always writing on my practice plan during practice, just because I want to see it at all times. Um, but that's a big part for me. But then how I structure practice, I think is probably a little unique, a little bit of our secret sauce. Um, Early in the season, with 7 or 8 practices, I gotta regurgitate, and I gotta make sure we have everything in. We have out of balance plays in, our press break, our man offense, our defense. We have, so it's a little bit more of I'm building the base. I'm pouring the foundation of the house, right? But as the season goes on and as we get more and we're starting to build the walls and getting everything up, and I'm feeling more comfortable about that we have some shelter. Um, I build my practices. Again, we run in Wisconsin. Our association plays 2 18-minute halves. So here's how I structure my practices. And I go, I go, I'd go, the beginning of practice is just like our warm up in a game, right? You come out, you have your 15, 20-minute warm up, you get going. Um,
A lot
that
of
is
skill
what
stuff.
it's all skill stuff, and they do that before I come in.
Yeah.
So after the first week, every kid knows their workout when they come into the gym. Here's what you're supposed to do, and here's what you're going to do it. It's not just coming in and just shooting shots. We'll do that early before I figure out what our strengths and weaknesses are. But once in the first week has passed, here's what you're going to do. It's you're going to go off of this sheet when you come into the gym. Posts are going to do this, guards are going to work. So that is what we do at the beginning. Then we gather, just like they gather in front of the whiteboard before the game, and we do some stretching, not dynamic, but more important than the stretching, because we'll do some dynamic stretching. We do some relaxation things, and I have them do some meditation things with my coaches in the center circle to bring their breathing down, to get away from school, to turn off the problems they're having with their girlfriend because she didn't say hi in the hallway, whatever it is. And then I do some breathing with them. And then I bring them back out.
You're not joking about that. You really do that, don't you?
I do.
It,
I
it's,
do.
it's that's like Phil Jackson type stuff.
Well, the
It's
problem is,
Yep.
uh, it's been a long time since most of us have been high school kids, and
Yeah.
it's really hard to be a high school kid. You are on, and especially with this little addicted device they
The
carry
social
around,
media, it's not good
they
for
are on
yeah.
all the time. So all of a sudden, I've turned them off from that,
Yeah.
and they freak. The first couple of days I do it with the first minute, they freak out because they're not used to dead silent and quiet and listening to their breathing. Um, and we'll do some of that. We'll do some of that visualization with them before we come on the court.
Mhm.
45 seconds. Close your eyes. Visualize running out. Visualize this. I have my assistant coach. I've left the locker room at this point. I've already done my pregame. So I'm kind of building it like what we do in a game situation. Then we go for the first half of the game. We go hard
Mhm.
for 35, 45 minutes. Okay. And then we have halftime. We literally have halftime. Halftime is sometimes shooting. Halftime is sometimes me taking in and watching scout film. Sometimes me is taking them into the locker room and talking about some things we didn't do well. Just a breakup. I'm trying to break it up into
Mhm.
two halves because that's what we play, two halves. And then we come back out, and then we'll do the second half. And then I'll throw some situation stuff into it. So again, I'm trying to slowly, especially after the first week, model what practice is
Yeah.
like and what the game is like. And then within that, I'm doing, some offensive, defensive stuff, some
Yeah.
small sided games, some things like that. But that's the one that's the handout on the right. I kind of explained to you what we kind of do as far as our breakdown. I think it's relatively unique, but it's me kind of thinking I want practice to be like the game.
Mhm.
And I don't have time to do all small sided games. I don't have time in the world that I live in for them to build their knowledge. Like sometimes they can do in my classroom and my stats. I don't have the time to do that. And I don't have
Yeah.
unrestricted um, time with them. So I can't do it. So this
You're
is the
not in
best I can
Texas.
do with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so moving on from the first framework to say yes, I know Texas don't have any rules. Kind of like I think Indiana and Kentucky are similar when it comes to basketball anyway. So end of game situation. So we build the practice. You're adaptively ready. You kind of have the structure of how you're anticipating a game to go. I always felt like when I talked to my coaches, what we did with my staff is, hey, we're always trying to put ourselves in position at the end of the game, especially teams that we're similar in talent with. Games come down to execution, and 4 quarters of discipline is going to get you in the end of the game. Or if we're playing a team that's better than us, hey, if we're within 10 with 4 to go, we got a shot here. But how do you prepare for this? And I know you have a lot of different scenarios, but what are you doing in the last 4 or 5 minutes of a game that tips the scale in your favor?
Yeah. So I'm going to give you, I'm giving you a taste of this because I can't give you the whole Bible. The Bible is about this thick for the end of game situations, but there's a couple things. So I'll talk about the middle one first because it pertains to something we talked about already. So the middle thing is when our guys leave the timeouts, okay? They hear something from me at the beginning, they hear something from me at the end. When they walk out of the timeouts, one of my assistant coaches is holding up one of these sheets and he's holding up how many timeouts we have, whether we have the possession. Okay. I want them to know that. There's some balloons. So I want them to know that leaving. So that is one of our cultural things. One of the end of the games. I don't want, well, I do because we won a state title because someone called a timeout and they didn't have one. But I don't want that to happen to our team, to our program, that they don't know how many timeouts we have and whose possession it is.
Mhm.
Because I just want them to know that. That's a given. The other two things are end of game situations. It is an underutilized thing, and you have to sprinkle it throughout the season. You can't wait to do end of game situations. You can't wait and it's hard. It's hard at
Mhm.
the beginning of the season. It's going to be hard for me when I have 8 practices, but I am going to sprinkle in something so we can run something at the end of the game. And this is the beginning of a longer set that I have, but the one on the left is kind of a cheat sheet, what to do at the end of a game. You can put it on 3x5. The one on the right is kind of a have you thought about it? Like, have you thought about timeouts? Have you thought about if you're up 4 or if you're up 5, are you going to foul? And are you not going to foul? Who are you going to foul? How are you going to foul? All of those things are kind of in that situation. And I've made a sheet kind of like that football sheet that kind of gives you, the football players always know when to go, whether to go for 2 or to kick the field goal. I kind of made a sheet over COVID that would kind of take care of that. So you could think about, yeah, I'm going to do this. No, I'm going to do that. I'm going to tweak this. And I think it's important to practice that. It's important to practice with time and situations at end of games, because for you and for the players, when we go into a timeout and we're down 2, and I come to that timeout, and at the beginning, I'll look at them, I go, hey, we're going to run win, or we're going to run score. We've named our last second plays win, score, 3, something that makes them know what it's going to be, that we're going to win.
Yeah.
And then they'll know what win is. It's more who's going to be in what position for a win. It's not what win is. It's like, all right, I want so-and-so coming off this double screen. I want him curling back. Your first look is here. Your second look is there. If you don't have either one of those looks, you're going to look for him cutting into the middle. Boom. All right, let's go run, win, break, bump. There's no confusion, because I don't remember the exact expression, but with war becomes, it's the fog of war. That you hear all these different things when war happens. Well, I don't want any of that fog. I want them to know exactly what we're going to do and exactly where you're going to line up. And when we run end of game symmetry, we'll have win drawn up. I'll put it on the whiteboard. It will be diagrammed. I'll put my little magnets on top of it. It will be ready. I don't have to do any thinking. They don't have to do any thinking. You have to be set.
Yeah.
You can't leave things for chance at the end of a game.
How do you approach, because I know you prepare for these situations like this, but I know you have, if you're like in a very specific situation, I know you probably rep a variation of them in practice, but hey, we're down 3-5 with a minute and a half to go. We're up 3-5 with a minute and a half to go. Hey, game's tied with 45. And you're going to be, your mentality is going to be different if you're down 5 points or up 5 points. And do they know kind of what plays to run it, or how?
Yeah, they'll know. They'll even know if we don't have any timeouts, which Coach Collins is going to go to heaven or down there with a lot of timeouts. I'm telling you that right now. But they'll know what to run. The question is who to run and how to run it. And you can't run enough of these situations. And the best part is when you've run these situations, you can look them in the eye and you can say, hey, we've run win. You got this. Hey, Anthony, you're going to come off. You got this. You're going to hit this 3. And then after he hits the 3, we're going to do this. Well, so you're setting that mental part on for them already, that, hey, we've done this. You know how to do it. We're going to do it right now, and we're going to win. Done. Let's move on to the next thing. So I think that's part of it. I think it's part of that mental part of it too, Coach. I think that is big about it. Yep.
Yeah.